lots of great ideas. So today, Jason's going to talk about getting listings in a tough market. So I'm super excited for you guys to hear what Jason has to offer and what advice he can give you as realtors who may be facing a difficult market in your area, whether it's, a shortage of inventory or basically a seller's market. Jason has you covered. Thanks, Jason, for being here. Welcome.
Yeah, hey, Inga, thank you guys for having me. So I've really got a lot of stuff to go over with you guys today because I think that a lot of us were in a tough market. And what I mean by tough market is the market's going crazy. You're putting a property. We're in Myrtle Beach, and my market's not as crazy as some of them across the country. But I listed a property last Wednesday. I put it on MLS like 5 or 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Between Wednesday and Saturday, I got 40 showings on this house. And it was a house that needed a lot of work. So I think we're seeing that a lot all the way across the country. So, but really in a tough market, what I've seen here and what I've seen other places, you're on one of two sides of this market. You're either number one, you're crushing it, and you're making so much damn money you're having trouble counting it all. You're having to make notes for yourself to make sure you go to the bank, deposit checks, you're making so much. Or number two, you're struggling because there's agents that are more experienced than you, they've been in the market a little bit longer than you, and you are to the point where you're getting shut out. Now, you don't want to be number two in the market, but you definitely, number one, there's some danger in that too, because if you're number one and you're making a ton of money right now, it's easy to get complacent. And when this market turns, that's where you're going to have a problem, because a lot of agents that are doing really, really well in this up market, they think it's never going to end. So, but I want to tell you guys, I'm going to give you guys all the bad news, and then I'm going to tell you how to overcome it. And Inga, if you have any questions or you want to add anything, please just stop me. But
absolutely,
we've got right now, there's a lot of things that are going to happen. If you've been watching the news, you see there's a lot of stuff happening. Building reports, building is up, home sales are up. We're going to see home sales actually start going down because of lack of inventory, and you guys may be experiencing that in some of your markets already. But there's 6 things we're going to compete against that we're not used to competing against, and we haven't been competing against recently. Number one, the thing that's going to be crazy over the next couple of years is going to be technology. As the market improves, we're going to see a lot of this venture capital funds and stuff like that dumping money into technology. So I believe Zillow, we know Zillow is a powerhouse right now in the real estate industry, but there's probably something else out there as far as technology that's going to either charge us money, it's going to dominate the market, it's going to charge us money, and we probably don't even know what this thing is yet. Number 2 thing that we got to compete against that we haven't the last couple of years is downward pressure on commissions. 4 or 5, 6 years ago, man, if you were charging 6%, you could probably get 7 because people are so desperate to sell their house. If you could sell their house, they'd pay you whatever you wanted to charge, as long as they didn't have to come out of their pocket with money. But the next couple of years, as the market picks up and steadily increases, we're going to see, if you've been getting 6% in your market, you're going to see a lot of pressure to go to 5. If you've been getting 5, you're going to see a lot of pressure to go to 4. We're going to see a lot of downward pressure on commissions. Number 3 thing is we're going to see more agents with less experience coming into your market. So as the market improves, we're going to see licensing classes are already full. Licensing classes in my area are selling out, Inga. So we're going to see more agents coming. So if your MLS has, let's say if your MLS has 4,000 members in it today, a year from now, it's probably going to have 6,000, 6,500. It may double in size in the next 2 years. So we're going to see more agents with less experience. Number 4, and this is always insane, is we're going to see more as the market improves and we see positive real estate stories getting back in the newspapers and stuff again. We're going to see these home flipping shows coming out with crazy ideas. And they're going to have things on these home flipping shows. They're going to be for entertainment purposes, but people are going to see that and they're going to think us as realtors are going to do whatever's on that show too,
Of course. It's never reality. I think everybody decides that they're going to be a home flipper, or they, can go and list their house as is and it'll just sell. Right now it's true though, so yep. It's, it's right. Hollywood's becoming reality. I have
You're
a
right.
question, Jason, about regulations and real estate licensing you talked about. I heard that they're going to make it harder to become a realtor and stiffening up some of those real estate tests because there's such an influx of realtors. Do you know any truth in that? I mean,
You know, I can only speak for South Carolina because that's the only place I know, but it used to be South Carolina was a 2-week course, and then you had to do another week within the first 12 months. Now you have to do that other week before you get licensed. So it went from being a 2 weeks upfront course to a 3-week upfront course. So, and I know our continuing education requirements got bumped up a little bit. I think we went from 8 hours to 12, if I remember correctly. So
okay.
hopefully we'll see that, though. I mean, I really feel like there needs to be a little bit bigger barrier to entry. Even background checks. I don't know if you remember in the news not long ago, we had an agent here in South Carolina that was, I think, in Greenville that basically kidnapped a woman and her boyfriend, killed the boyfriend, and locked the woman in like a storage container. It was some insane story. And it turned out this guy, he was from Arizona. He was a big realtor up around Greenville, South Carolina. Turned out this guy had some kind of crazy past history where, honestly, when I read the stories, I was going, why was this guy licensed? This guy had a history of basically criminal sexual misconduct. It was insane. So I'm hoping those requirements go up a little bit. I'd like to see that, but you know, the other thing we're going to see a lot more third-party companies coming into the market too. And by I mean third-party companies, they're going to be companies that, you know, they're going to sell you leads, plus they're going to charge a referral. So
like Zillow?
Kind
I
of
heard
like
that they're
Zillow.
getting into, I heard that they're getting into they're going to become a real estate company very soon.
Oh, it's just a matter of time. I believe it's just a matter of time before they do. I think that I really expected them to come up with some sort of Redfin type model, or I work for EXP, for them to come up with some sort of EXP type model and launch it. I think it's just a matter of time before that happens. But we're going to see these third-party companies getting into the business so that they can take a piece of your commission, whether it's referral-based or fee-based or whatever it is. But the number 6 thing we're going to see is all of us are going to have more distractions than ever before. You know, we're going to have more, I'm a big fan of Gary Vaynerchuk, but if you're a realtor, man, it's tough. You got to do, and you listen to him, you got to do Facebook, you got to do Instagram, you got to do Snapchat, you got to do, you know, you got 30 social media networks that you need to be on every day. And as the market improves,
right,
we're going to see a lot of training coming out about how to generate business, you know, with these random crazy things. And honestly, a lot of the things we're going to see are going to be really nothing more than distractions. They're not going to be real things to predictively generate business from. So so I'll tell you what, that's like all the bad news I've got. Then I've got like 4 pages of notes here. I want to tell you the good news and what you need to work on so that you can find listings and you can get more listings in this tough market. The number one thing I see agents schedule or have problems with is their schedule. You know, and it's my belief that you guys, you've got to have a schedule and you got to follow it. And it's easy as we get busier. It's easier to get really just pulled away from what you need to be doing today. You know, like you know, you get calls for a buyer wanting to see a house. You'll get calls from all these random people, and next thing you know, you missed your prospecting time. You know, I believe that if you set yourself up a schedule, and I'll tell you guys how to set up a schedule, a really quick, easy way to set up yourself a schedule. But if you follow your schedule 75% of the time, you know, nobody can do it 100%. I can't even do my schedule 100%. You know, but if you create a schedule and you follow it 75% of the time, you'll see your production soar. Now, part of that is you need some profitable activities, which we'll get to. But your schedule.
Well, let me ask, Jason, I don't mean to interrupt you, but let me ask, out there, of the 256 people on this webinar today, put a 1 in if you guys have a daily schedule, because I don't even know I have a lot of realtor friends, and I don't even know if they have daily schedules. So I'm curious, as our audience, do you guys have a daily schedule? Put a 1 in the box if you have a daily schedule that you stick to.
Yeah, I tell you what, a lot of agents, what they do is they just like, man, they just kind of hang out. They get up in the morning, they do whatever they feel like. We're the only job. I know we talk about career and owning your own business and all that stuff, but no matter, if you have to work on it every day, it's a job, you know what I mean? But we're the only job that's out there that we feel like we can kind of show up when we want. If most of us looked at our schedule and looked at when we actually worked and then looked at what would be required of us if we worked at a regular job, we'd probably get fired from that regular job. If you don't show up one day and you have a valid excuse, it's not a big deal, but if you don't show up 3 days or 2 weeks, you're not going to work there anymore. So I'll run through with you real quick how to set up your schedule and what's like a real effective way of building your schedule. Number one, the thing that a lot of us forget is when we're building our schedule and figuring out what we need to do week to week is we need to talk to our spouse or significant other. And the reason why is you need to outline what they need, where they need you to be, and what do you need to do over, say, I'd recommend doing it over the next 90 days, but at least over the next like 30 to 60 days. But I feel like 90 days is pretty acceptable to figure out what you got to do as far as school functions, family events, kids, all that stuff. Building your schedule is going to take some energy and effort, but you got to figure out what your family schedule is and your personal family commitments are, because if your family life is going to collides with your business life, you are not going to be able to follow your schedule. Let's say, for example, you know that you got to take the kids to school at 7:30 every morning, and there's no way you can get to your office before 8:30. You should not build your schedule where you start prospecting at 8 a.m. You know what I mean? You might have to bump it back to 9 a.m. to make sure that you can follow through with your schedule. But after you talk to your spouse, number two, you need to list out whatever business commitments that you have, whatever coaching time. If you're in a coaching program and you're constantly missing your coaching calls, it's because you probably hadn't put them in your schedule, but you need to list out, coaching time, networking events, continuing education, training classes, whatever you need to do, meeting with your accountant, because that's something that all of us need to think about too. When you're making more money, you're going to pay more taxes. Believe me, if you're making enough that you can't keep up with it, I know one person that is Uncle Sam. They're keeping up with what you're making. But the number three thing you need to do once you list down all your business commitments, you need to put your prospecting time in your plan. You need to put the time that you're going to work on getting more listings and the time that you're actually going to prospect into your plan. So then you need to put, what I do with my schedule is I have my prospecting time set up from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Then from 11 a.m. to 12, I have like a little paperwork time set up in there. I schedule lunch every day at 12 o'clock. Then the afternoon, I typically have 2 time blocks every afternoon, and that's for listing appointments. And I try to go through and fill those time blocks every day. But you also need to make sure you put time to practice, and build your skills and stuff, because I think during times like this, your skill set is more important than ever, because you're going to be competing with so many different people. But once you guys put together your schedule, you need to put it in your calendar. You use Google Calendar, and you need to look at this calendar before you plan anything that you do. You need to look at your calendar. So that's what you need. That's the first thing you need to do, is build your schedule, Inga. So the second thing you need to do is you need to work on your profitable activities. And a lot of agents kind of overcomplicate the business. There's really only 2 things that you can really do in the business that's going to make you money. And it's number one, you either talk to buyers. Well, even simpler than that. I mean, there's 2 things. You either talk to buyers or you talk to sellers.
Okay, well, how do you find buyers and sellers? Right. So everybody, I mean, it's very logical. You need buyers so that you can show them houses and sell them, the house, and you need sellers listings so that you can, have income coming from there. But how do you find those? I think that's the number one problem is people, it's like, yeah, that's simple, Jason. I need buyers and sellers. Where
simple,
do I
you
get
need buyers and sellers. How do you find them? You know what, for me, I set up my business so that my business is listing heavy. I set standards for my business, And what I mean by setting standards for your business is you need to set your business up to work with the life and lifestyle that you want to have. So for me personally, I'm not a good buyer's agent. I don't like to it's a little bit different skill set, I feel like. I don't like to put people in my car after 3 or 4 hours with me. Everybody is sick of me, including myself sometimes. And, you know, I don't want to talk about what color the bathroom is. I don't want to talk about how great the chandelier was or how their backyard sucks. You know, it's just not the thing for me. But working with buyers, too, it's hard to leverage your time. So,
right, because you're on their schedule, not on yours,
yeah, you're on their
right?
schedule. Yeah, because believe me, if you got a buyer that calls you today and they say, hey, Jason, I want to look at a house at 3 o'clock today, and you say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't show it to you at 3, you better believe that buyer, I mean, even if it is like your cousin or your aunt and uncle, they're thinking about calling another agent that can show them that at 3 o'clock today. So you're kind of at the mercy of their schedule, and it sucks. But now if you're working with sellers and your business is more listing heavy, you can control that time, because while I'm sitting at home on a Sunday afternoon, my listings can still be shown. A couple of years ago, we were on a cruise out in the Caribbean. I sold 3 properties while we were on the boat. All my listings were getting shown. Nobody really even knew I was out of town. I set up my voicemail saying to email me. I wouldn't have telephone access. But you can leverage your time with listings where you just can't do it with buyers. You can have 50 listings and all of them can get shown today, but if you had 50 active buyers that were pre-qualified and everything, I mean, you probably couldn't even show them all property this week, if you could even make it to them and get them to commit to you. So you need
Jason,
to...
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
With being a listing agent, do you have to have an assistant? Say you do have, 20 listings and they want to be seen. Do you have, and they call you direct, should you have an assistant?
You know, like I usually carry, no, actually I don't have an assistant. Okay. I need one because, like, as I get busier doing other stuff, I need one. Honestly, I just hate putting up with other people's stuff, with other people's problems. That sounds horrible, but I hate putting up with other people's problems. But if you take and set up your listings and use a showing service, the showing service is going to set up access. If it's occupied with a seller, that showing service is going to basically call the seller or notify the seller and set up that with you. They'll notify the other agent and let you know that it's okay. So there's not a whole lot for you to do other than follow up every now and then with the seller and price reduce. So
do you have, for the showing service, do you have to hire them out? Is it a third party? Does your company provide it? How does that work? Do you pay for it?
Our MLS uses Showing Time, but I've used another company in the past called Centralized Showings. I want to say they were like $25 a listing.
That's cheap.
Yeah, that's cheap. I mean, and Showing Time sends a text message to the seller and they can accept or decline the showing. Centralized Showings would actually make a phone call to them. And where Centralized Showings gets a little bit as expensive is where if you're listing 15, 20 houses a month, that $25 a month adds up, or $25 a listing. I think that's what they were priced at. It's been a while since I used them. But, if you're doing that sort of volume, but I've been happy with Showing Time. It texts me, it texts the seller. I mean, probably 90% of your clients text nowadays.
But who takes the buyer to the house? Do they arrange that as well, or
the buyer's agent is? The buyer's agent that's setting the showing. Now, if you're dealing with listings actually like sign calls and stuff like that, what I'd recommend agents to do it if they're trying to make this transition, and it's hard first, and I've been through that where I was real buyer heavy and I was trying to make the transition. It's hard to let go of those buyer leads. You feel like you gotta have them.
Right.
But what I would do is I'd start looking for a buyer's agent. And if you're into the disc profile, that sort of stuff.
Yeah, we use it all the time.
Yeah, I would look for somebody that's a little bit higher S and C than if you get somebody that's a high D, they're going to want to take your
D&I. Yeah, they'll take your commission and your listing.
Yeah, they're going to want to take your commission and your listing. I'd look for somebody that was at S and a C, because you need somebody that's caring, and you need somebody that's pretty organized to deal with the buyers. And if I was just starting, and I was just trying to make that transition, I would make it, I would look for a buyer's agent to work with on a referral basis. Now,
Okay.
the problem that you have sometimes, or the problem a lot of agents have, is they want to pick the agent that's like the number one agent in their office to deal with their buyer leads. The problem is that agent's going to have to pay you a referral, whether it's 25 or 35%, whatever it is. And sometimes they're really too busy to work with your leads. I would,
Okay.
I'd look around your office for an agent that has some experience, but if I was going to refer like a heavy amount of listings to them, I would want them to follow my system on how do I want them to handle those leads. Because you can't trust agents to follow their own system, because most of us don't have one.
Right. I'm curious, in our audience, I'm just curious, how many of you are buyer's agents only? Put a 1 if you're a buyer agent only, and a 2 if you're just a listing agent only, and a 3 if you do a little bit of both. I'm just wondering who does what, and how many people do we have in our audience that this really this talk pertains to, or how many of you want to know how to switch from being a buyer's agent to a listing agent and vice versa. All right,
yeah,
so I got a lot of 3s. Jason.
A lot of 3s.
Yeah, a lot of 3s. Oh, I mean, 95% of you guys are 3s. You do both, right? You're not going to say no to the buyers, and you're definitely taking the listing.
Like I wouldn't say no to all buyers. I would just set some standards and qualifications for what kind of buyers you want to work with. And what I mean by that is, like for example, if you're like 50-50, then your life sucks probably. If you're 30-70 buyers, then your life really sucks and you have no time. You're canceling your kids' stuff because you got to go show a buyer property, or you're not showing up to your kids' dance recital because you're dealing with a buyer. And that's the truth, and it sucks, and sometimes you feel like you got to do it, and you're having, and I can tell you, and if this is a great question. A lot of agents, when they're real buyer heavy, they see peaks and valleys in their business because they really work their ass off. They really work hard on buyers for like a month. They get 3 or 4 or 5 deals under contract, 7 deals under contract. Then for the next 30 days, they're trying to close those deals. And then they finally get those deals closed, and they don't have anything going on for 30, 45,
Yep.
maybe even 60 days.
That's a great point. Ann just made a great point to that effect. She says, my buyers and referrals are keeping me too busy to implement any of my strategies. Ugh. So obvious frustration because you are getting so busy showing the houses. And I mean, you could probably spend weeks on end with one buyer.
Oh,
I'm sure that's happened to many of you.
Yes, you can show one buyer. There are some buyers out there that are just tourists. And I mean, I see it. I'm in a second home market, so I see it here where a buyer come to our market and they don't have anything to do on Thursday. And so what they do is they call an agent and they go look at 10 oceanfront condos. And there's stuff that they're never going to be able to purchase. I mean, they probably don't even have the money today for the closing costs, let alone, actually buying it. And agents won't ever qualify.
Parameters? Yeah. How do you set parameters, and how do you set boundaries so that buyer, so that you can kind of maintain your career but have your life back?
Yeah. Well, what you need to do is you need to decide what kind of buyers you're going to work with. Like me personally, I will only work with a buyer if it's a friend, a family member. I will work with a lot of past clients. Some of them I don't like, but I will work with them. But a friend, a family member, a past client, or a direct referral from one of those 3. Anybody else, somebody that comes on my website, a signed call or whoever, it goes to my buyer's agent. And sometimes even that friend, well, usually if it's a family member, then I'm stuck with them. But, if it's like a friend of a family member, even them go to buyer's agents sometimes, and they need to, then on top of it, they need to be qualified. You need to have a qualification process that you're walking every buyer's agent through, or every buyer lead through. And I mean,
you recommend like, when you're qualifying them just financially, or qualifying them how?
Well, you need to ask like a series of questions. Okay.
Do you have that series of questions? Can you share with the audience?
I'll give it to you right now. We didn't plan on talking about this, but yeah. So you need to ask them who they are, right? That's important because if they don't want to tell you their last name, man, you don't need to show them property. Ask them who they are, where they're from, that sort of stuff. Okay, you need to ask them what do they want, right? What kind of property do they want? What kind of price range they want to be in? Who do they want? What do they want to purchase? When would they like to purchase it? What kind of time frame are they planning on? Where do they want to be? What location? And then how are they going to pay for it? So you need to ask them who they are, who, what, when, where, and how. Who are they? Find out who they are, some information about them. What do they want to buy? Like house, condo, land, things like that. When do they want to buy it? What time frame? Where do they want to be as far as what area of your market? Like we have a bunch of areas. They want to be in Conway. Do they want to be in Myrtle Beach? They want to be in Pawleys Island. And then the most important one is how are they going to pay for it? So, I mean, that's a quick, kind of a quick and dirty process to go through. Now, when you get to that, if they don't really know what they want, that may be somebody you put in your CRM. You may pass them off to your buyer's agent to deal with it. If they don't know where they want to be, like if somebody called me up and said, hey, Jason, we know we want to buy in Myrtle Beach, but we don't know if we want to be in North Myrtle Beach, Pawleys Island, Georgetown, Conway. They don't care or they don't have like a place they want to be at. You want to refer that person off. Then the biggest one is...
Jason, I have a question real quick. You briefly touched on CRM. I don't mean to interrupt you, but our audience is getting restless. They want to know how you're getting these listings. So, but I want also someone to ask, do you use a CRM? Like what's your CRM of choice?
I used Realty Juggler for a long time now to keep up with seller leads and stuff. With buyer leads, I'm using Conversion. But EXP, we get Conversion for free. We get it as part of our package deal with being an agent there. I've used Boomtown. I had a lot of success with them. We also get a choice between Conversion and Commissions Inc. But I really like Conversion. I've used Real Geeks. I've had a lot of success with them in the past, and I think they have a reasonable priced website. I guess the best one out there is the one that you're actually going to put people in and use,
Right, exactly. It could be an Excel spreadsheet. If you're going to use it, that's
exactly.
The best one for you.
A five subject notebook works fantastic if you don't have anything else and you actually use it,
Awesome. So,
cool. So, I know we talked about, focusing on lead sources. I know you guys want to know how to get more listings.
Yes, everybody wants to know how to get more listings. That's the number one, I think, reason why most people came on this webinar is to find out, Jason, how do you get more listings, and what do you recommend all of our audience do to get more listings?
Number one thing you got to have is you got to have a replicable sales system. You need a system where you're doing the same thing over and over again. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote that book, How to Be a For Sale by Owner Master, or FSBO Master. And it's free on Amazon right now. The Kindle version is free. So, but that's one of the reasons I wrote that, because most agents didn't have a system. I saw that agents really needed a system. And that book is my system for getting for sale by owners. But you need something you can plug people in that you don't have to think about it that's the same every time. Because if you're having a problem, let's say for example, you're not setting any appointments. Okay, you need to look at what kind of script are you using. Are you actually setting a time aside to make calls consistently? Because making calls are kind of like working out. Okay, if you make calls once a month, you're going to be really bad at it. If you make calls every day, I would schedule prospecting time every single day, because what you're going to do is you're going to get really good at your scripts. You're going to get really good at setting appointments. You're going to get really good at actually showing up and going on the appointments, but you're going to get really good at reacting to the responses you get to your questions. So you got to use the same script over and over again. So in my book, it actually has my For Sale by Owner script in there, and I use that same script for sale by owners, and I use it for expireds. So when you initially start calling, you need to look at your calls, your initial calls to people as a funnel. The initial calls to like expireds, for sale by owners and stuff is you dumping them in the funnel. And then as you get people on the phone and stuff, what you do is you work them through your funnel with your follow-up process. And I go through the full follow-up process in that book too. But you need that replicable system. And I'll tell you guys, I come up with like a list of 7 things you really need. You got to have lead sources, and we'll talk about lead sources. I'll give you guys, I'll tell you what, I'll give you guys a list of like my favorite lead sources and where I'm getting listings at in a couple of minutes. But you need lead sources. You need predictable lead sources where you open your laptop up and they're there waiting on you. You need a script to follow, and you got to get really good at scripts. Okay, you need a role play partner. If you don't have a role play partner and you're brand new, you need to find one today. Either make a post in Agent Mastermind, make a post in my group, Real Estate Agents That Really Work. But you need a role play partner. If you're going on appointments against other agents, you need to have your pre-listing package. You need to have it filled out and all that stuff so that it is there. You've got it. You can send it out. You don't have to think about anything.
There's Jason's pre-listing package. We have it. We have it for you guys too. I'll put the link
Jason.
to it.
Yep, Jason Moore's pre-listing package. Yep. But you got to have that. I'll tell you what, you wouldn't believe how many appointments I go to where I'm one of like 2, 3, 5 agents sometimes. I'm the only person with a pre-listing package. I mean, I have this belief that we don't sell houses. We sell a service that sells houses. We just get paid on the performance of that service, you know. But you got to use your pre-listing package. You have to have a pricing strategy that you can easily explain. A lot of agents use this sold strategy, or they use the last ones that sold in the community, and they're going on appointments and they're getting there and they're going, oh, well, they want too much for their house, or oh, this other agent got it because they were willing to price it higher than me. And then the thing is, the agent prices it higher and then they get a contract in 2 weeks. I mean, I'll tell you this, I get the one that got 40 showings last week. There was me and another agent. The other agent priced their house, gave them a price of $140,000. I priced their house at $175,000. And the reason is they were looking at things that sold, and I was actually looking at the things that was on the market that house was actually competing against. So, and I kind of go down through pricing strategy in that book too, but you need your paperwork too. I see a lot of agents going on these appointments. They go all the way through the appointment. The people really like them. They build rapport. People really like everything they say, and then they start going down through the paperwork, and the client goes, the husband and the wife look at one another and they go, oh, we're going to have to think about this. We need to think about this. And usually the thing is the agent was so bad at properly explaining the paperwork that the people got scared, because, I mean, technically it is a legal document, and it's probably one of the first times, if not the first time, these people have ever seen it, you know. So, and a lot of agents just can't effectively go through their paperwork, you know. They go through it the same way their broker did in the broker's class. But you got to have your paperwork together. You need a net sheet. Use your net sheet. If you guys go down through my book, I use it all the time. The thing is, if you're not using one, you're doing a disservice to yourself and your clients, because this net sheet is going to help you overcome a lot of commission objections. It's going to let them see exactly what they're going to put in their pocket. It's going to build a lot of confidence and trust between you and the client. A lot of agents that just go, oh yeah, you want to walk away with 150,000? Yeah, let's price it at 159, and yeah, you'll be able to walk away from it, but they never actually show them it where they can see it. So you have to go through those sales systems, and you have to do it the same every time so it's predictable. That way, if you're having a problem, you can go back and correct that problem. You know, so, and that was one of the reasons I wrote that book, was because I wanted to give agents that system. But I'll tell you what, let's get to lead sources, because this is kind of exciting. I got a couple. I got like 7 or 8 here that I kind of jotted down real quick that I think some of them are things that I use a lot. Some of them are things I think agents are just kind of overlooking since we're in a hot market. I mean, I think the number one thing agents are overlooking, or the number one lead source, is for rent by owners.
For rent by owners, interesting.
Yeah, well, you know, like if you're in a hot real estate market and prices going up, the rental market's probably going crazy too. And a lot of agents don't even call for rent by owners. The key to this is, and I'll tell you, I'll give you like my 30-second explanation. The key to for rent by owners is to get their information, call them, get information about the property, ask them if they're thinking about selling it in the future, talk to them. It's probably going to be already rented, or they've got somebody they think is going to rent it. And then the key is to put them in send them your pre-listing package so they kind of know who you are, then follow up with them every 30 days, because there's two things that you know. Number one is if they signed a lease in May, chances are that lease is going to end next May, right? So in 12 months,
Right.
that place is probably going to go empty again, or could possibly go empty again. Okay, that's number one. And number two, nobody wants to deal with a bad tenant. And every one of these owners, they're one bad tenant away from wanting to put the place on the market. We talked about your condo. I'll tell you what.
I'll give you a great example. I was in a 3-year lawsuit with a horrible tenant that cost me over $150,000. My condo actually closed yesterday because I was forced to sell it at the point that, you know, I had a horrible tenant. So you're absolutely right, Jason. This is perfect timing talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? When you follow up with that seller, once that tenant's late a couple of times, the tenant's just, you know, they're getting complaints from the community. They just got a new Rottweiler. They got a new pit bull chained up in the backyard, or whatever insane thing could have possibly happened. That owner's like, you know what? I just want to get done with this. I want to be done with it. Because a lot of these people, they're not professional landlords. A lot of these people that are doing for rent by owner are doing for rent by owner because they don't have enough room in what they owe and what the place is renting for to be able to afford to pay a landlord, or to be able to pay a management company. Yeah, so a lot of these people are barely breaking even. They're renting the place just so that they can carry it. You know, chances are, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, they got kind of stuck when the market was down, and they just keep renting the thing, you know. They've had
that's exactly what happened to me. You just laid it out, I mean, word for word, and then I was desperate and needed to sell it. And then I found the first, you know, realtor that I could find that was recommended, and it was a nightmare.
Now,
until I used a friend.
Yeah, but let's say you had a realtor that had been following up with you for the last 3 years. Every 60 or 90 days, they'd sent you their pre-listing package. They were calling you every so often going, hey, Ingo, what's going on with your condo? You know, has it went empty? Has it went, you know, whatever? Have you thought about selling it? You know, like, imagine if you just started doing this like 12 or 18 months ago, where your business would be. Like my market, a house that was $150,000 12 or 18 months ago is probably like 175 or 180. I'll tell you this quick story. I had this guy. He's a for rent by owner. He's been in my CRM probably 2.5, 3 years. I called him up a few months ago, and I talked to him a bunch of times, so he knew exactly who I was when I called. You know, we had a relationship. We talked, and I followed up with him so much. And I told him, I said, hey man, I got my notes here that you'd sell the place, but you had to walk away with $140,000. And he goes, yeah, man. He goes, I said, well, where are you with your tenant? And he told me, the tenant had a couple months lease. And I said, man, I'll tell you what, fantastic thing right now is, if we put it on the market right now for $169.9, you'd be the cheapest one in the community. And that's going to get you more than $140. What do you think about that? Your tenant moves in a couple of months. The guy was excited about it. He wanted me to send him over proof. He didn't believe me because agents lie. And but you know what? I listed that guy's house. I didn't have any competition getting that listing. You know what I mean? I've been following up with this guy for 2 years. I had another one I listed. I just happened to follow up with the guy. I sent him out an email and just said, hey, how's things going with the house? Prices are really going up. Have you thought about selling it? The guy emails me and says, man, I'm evicting the tenant. He's supposed to be out like in 10 days. I called the guy up and I said, man, that sucks. If you'd have put this thing on the market with me 18 months ago, you wouldn't have had to worry about this whole thing. So I told him, I said, hey, why don't we go ahead and get it on the market? Do you have any pictures? And the guy goes, yeah, I got pictures. I said, fantastic. I'll email you the paperwork now. If you go ahead and text me the pictures, I'll have it on the market tonight. So I never even went to the house. and sold it. So these for rent by owners, a
Okay.
lot of agents skip them, you know.
All right, awesome. So for rent by owners is one. Okay, what's our next secret?
Yeah, pre-foreclosures. Pre-foreclosures, list pendants.
And how do you find those?
Well, there's two different ways. Either you got to go to your courthouse and subscribe and actually do the research, or use a service like RedX. And RedX has a pre-foreclosure service they use, but a lot of us think that, you know, hey, the market's going well, so we don't need to worry about, you know, foreclosures, because there are not any. But there are still people out there having financial problems. There are still people missing payments.
Absolutely.
And typically, once they miss 3 payments, there's usually some sort of filing at the courthouse that puts it on public record that they're about to start the foreclosure process. So I like RedX. Number 3, I like RedX. It's easy. I open my laptop. I got for sale by owners. I got expireds. I got stuff there. In my book, there's a $150 off coupon for RedX. Number 4, guys, even though I subscribe to RedX, I really like Craigslist, because Craigslist, a lot of these are picked up with RedX, but if they don't have a phone number or an email address that RedX can pick up in their system, RedX skips it. So what I mean by Craigslist, the ones I really like are the ones that don't have contact information, that you have to go through the Craigslist system and send them an email. I like to send them just a quick email that just says, hey, what's the best number to contact you? You wouldn't believe how many of those people will respond with their contact information. You just call them immediately, and nobody else has called them because their number is not on the listing, you know. Number 5, I'm gonna get through this list real quick here.
Okay. Sure.
I'm sorry, what was your?
I was gonna say, does RedX have homeowners numbers? Someone asked.
Oh yeah, RedX has a for sale by owner service. Let me tell you, their for sale by owner service, you get emails every day and you get the phone numbers too. But you also get access to their database of for sale by owners. So you can go back like a year, 2 years, 3 years and get all those for sale by owner leads from however long the database goes back. I just went through mine. I pulled like 2,800 leads, and I think it was back to 3 years old. So, and I think their service is $30 a month. If you subscribe to 2 services, tell them you're on this webinar, they'll give you $1 for free. So they've got a bunch of deals right now. They like me. They like whenever I do anything. But I've been subscribing to them for like 10 years. So
great. So okay, for rent by owner, pre-foreclosure, RedX, Craigslist.
I like Zillow. I like to do the same thing with Zillow. And the make me moves, I treat them the same as for sale by owners. RedX does pick up the ones with numbers, but still the ones without numbers, I guarantee you there's not many people that are calling and emailing, hey, and you don't need to try to sell them in the email. Just ask for their number or contact information. You know, a lot of them just respond with it. You know, number 4, driving around to appointments, I like to find the for sale by owners that just have the sign out front. You know, the guy that's in the back of the neighborhood, whenever I'm going to an appointment, whenever I'm on the way home, you know, I try to cut down through a neighborhood I hadn't been through in a while or something. That for sale by owner that's at the back of the neighborhood, that their sign's faded, you know, the Sharpie's faded off, you know, you got to get out and read the number. Man, that's a fantastic lead lots of times. You know, nobody's called
right
that
now.
person.
Garage sales.
A garage sales.
Selling, you know, if you're going around and you're stopping at the garage sales, just ask.
Yeah, just ask.
Hey, you thinking about selling your house?
You know, that's fantastic too. You know, sometimes you ask somebody, hey, well, do you know anybody else looking to sell in their neighborhood? And sometimes you get that person that goes, hey, the person down the street does, and they point to it. So number 5, this one's going to, you know, a lot of your audience isn't going to like this one. This one is a little bit extra work, but the people that do it will get rewarded for it. Or this is number 6, actually. That's actually, yeah. This is number 7, actually. We're number 7.
6. Yeah, you're on number 7.
Yeah, I tell you what, old newspapers. You know, a lot of people don't do newspapers like they used to, but a lot of the newspapers still have the classified section. If you go to your local library, the libraries keep these newspapers, all the local newspapers, on file typically for 6 to 9 months. You go through your library, take an hour, 2 hours, get a stack of these newspapers, go through them, you know, scan in the classified section with your phone. There'll be for rent by owners in there. There'll be for sale by owners in there. And sometimes it's an older person. They put an ad in the newspaper for $30. It ran a couple of weekends. And then they said, hey, nobody wants to buy my house. And they just didn't do anything else. They still would like to sell it, but they just didn't get any calls from that newspaper ad. And the library is like a fantastic resource for that big archive of those old newspapers. So
that's a great tip.
yeah, it takes a little bit extra work, but you know what? It's worth it because nobody else is going to be doing that in your market.
Can you go online for classifieds? Like I know we've got, you know, a lot of newspapers are online now, so
well,
it's probably just as easy to go online, right?
Well, here's the thing, you can, but those online, some of your newspapers will have different ads online than what they'll actually have in the newspaper. Yeah. So, and sometimes some of the for sale by owner services like RedX will pick up the newspaper ones, but the ones that are in print sometimes are different. So especially small newspapers, like we've got one in our market that's really small, and they're online, but they're not in a format that the for sale by owners can pick up very easily. So that's something.
What's your experience with, you know, contacting like attorneys, maybe probate, or you know, people that have passed away, divorce cases? What has been your experience with those kind of
I'll tell you, the divorce cases are interesting because it's one of two ways. Either the husband or the wife really likes me, and the other one doesn't like me because, you know, their spouse likes me. So yeah, divorces are kind of funky. I've got a good relationship with a probate attorney that sends me some business every now and then. Now, I usually end up getting some probate deals here and there. And a lot of it's just from calling like for sale by owners. I end up getting a lot of probate from calling for sale by owners. I use a service too called ZBuyer, and it seems like lately I've got a lot of probate stuff from them too. And
ZBuyer.
Yes, ZBuyer give you a discount if you're listening to this. I got a good relationship with her. She's seen the post on my thing, and she just messaged me telling me that if
what's her name?
Eva Langley.
Remember?
Yeah,
Eva, okay. I think I've spoken to Eva, yep.
You know what? Eva just texted me and said that if you're on this webinar and you call them, tell them that you heard me on this webinar, they'll give you 20% off.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Eva.
Yeah, she texted me while we were saying, so I guess she's listening. And I've got a lot of interesting stuff. They run a network of We Buy Houses type websites, so I usually get a listing a week from those. And it's kind of interesting. A lot of those people are seeking out online somebody to sell their house. But I got one other one I want to tell you about real quick that I think is really cool. It's kind of like a new one for me. It's this Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, that's awesome. I love Facebook Marketplace.
Used to be, there was all these buy and sell sites. So for you to go down through all of them, it was hard. It was a lot to keep up with. You know, there's probably 30 of them in my market that I'm a part of. You know, so to go down through them looking for sale by owners, it sucked, and it was like a hard process because you're cycling through people that want to like sell their shoes and their boat, you know, and random stuff. But this marketplace,
well, this is new. This is absolutely new, right? This is like super duper.
I mean, it's probably like a new feature in the last month, and I feel like they keep updating, and I feel like it keeps getting better because now you can search in there. But I scroll down through that like a couple of times a day looking for those for sale by owners. And if they don't have a phone number, I just send them a message that says, hey, what's the best number to contact you? And, you know, you wouldn't believe it. Some of them like message me back their phone number. And as soon as I get their number in a situation like that, I call them right then. I don't waste any time.
I think people feel safe on Facebook because they can go to your profile and see who you are. So it's, now I have a question. I'm on Facebook right now. If you guys can see my screen. Is there a thing on the marketplace on a computer, or is it just on your phone?
You know, I think it's just on my cell phone. Because I usually don't even do Facebook like on my computer.
It's right here.
Oh, there is.
You guys, it's right here. Sorry, I just found it. So here's the marketplace. Okay, so if you're looking for classifieds, it's right here. Properties for sale, right here. Bingo. Look what we just discovered today.
Yeah, I tell you what, I think there's gold in there because a lot of agents just spam these people, you know what I mean? You know, don't try to set the appointment. Become friends with them. Yeah, don't try to set the appointment like in a message. You know what? Ask them for their phone number, try to set the appointment on the phone, you know what I mean? if you try to set it in a message, you're just going to scare them all away, and they're not going to like you. And
Absolutely.
call them,
I mean,
go
yeah,
through your
build a
regular script.
relationship.
Everybody
Yep.
goes through the same process. You know what I mean? It's a phone process. You know.
Absolutely. Like, don't be afraid of the phone, because, I mean, the worst that can happen to you is they'll hang up on you. Just send them another message and, try to build that relationship with them.
I've never had anybody try to eat me through the phone, Never had anybody beat me up that I called either. I mean, I've been doing this for 14 years and making calls for 14 years, so I might be due, like, getting beat up from somebody on the phone, but so far it hasn't happened.
Awesome. So let me open up the forum right now. Jason, do you have anything else that you want to, fill it, or can we get some questions? We have 10 more minutes left. Do you guys want to ask some questions? Let's do it. Let me see what's going on. Okay, so
so I can't see questions on my end, so
okay,
just tell me what they are.
I'll read them to you. Okay, so Patricia had asked early on in the conversation, do you recommend getting involved with Zillow? We kind of covered that, so you do use Zillow for some of the things, but how do you not get caught up in all the Zillow leads? Like,
I don't subscribe to Zillow because honestly, I don't want more buyer leads. If you get enough listings, you're going to get enough leads through your MLS's natural syndication or your office's natural syndication. I don't purchase buyer leads. Honestly, I don't feel like they have a lot of value, to tell you the truth. I'd rather get a buyer lead from a sign call or from natural syndication than get a buyer lead from, one of these paid services.
Okay. Let's see what else we got going on here. Any more questions? Okay, come on. How do you prospect for listing appointments? So we already got to that. How do you get your listings? We already got to that. I think we've answered a lot of questions, Jason, because we've covered a lot of topics. So is there anything that you guys want to know? Okay, we got the book. We have the scripts. The scripts are in the book. The RedX is something that you guys can just Google and use Jason's name to get a discount. How much does ZBuyer cost?
ZBuyer, it depends on the market. It ranges from like, I think it's $109 to like $700. I've got 2 counties. I pay a little over $300. And I probably get about 25, 30 leads a month, but my closing ratios are outrageous. I got some ZBuyer scripts if you look on my YouTube channel. But ZBuyer's kind of insane. I mean, I probably list 1 or 2 a month from it.
Okay. What's your YouTube channel, Jason, just in case somebody wants to, check your scripts out?
Yeah,
and
you know what? They can just search me on YouTube, but it's really just search Jason Morris or real estate agents that really work. That's probably the easiest way to find it.
Okay. Real estate agents that really work. Okay, makes sense. And what is the best pay for a lead source? I'm not quite sure what the question is, but how much, I guess.
Best place to start with leads. Are you on a budget? I guess that's probably, let's take it 2 different ways. Okay, let's say if you're on a budget. Okay, what I would subscribe to is I would go subscribe to an expired and for sale by owner service. If I was on a really, really tight budget, I'd call RedX. I would get their for sale by owner service, tell them I sent you, use the coupon in the back of my book, so they waive setup fees, then you get a little credit towards stuff, those things. I would do that because it's like $30 a month. Then you get this whole archive where you got all these leads, to work on like today. Okay, so that would probably be if I was on like a super tight budget. If I had a little bit bigger budget, I would look at RedX. I would get their expired service. I use Onyx, which is a little bit more advanced service with a dialer. It costs like $250 a month. Then I would look at ZBuyer. ZBuyer's, depending on the market you're in, it's going to cost anywhere from $100 to several $100s. And that is my main lead source to list 12 to 15 a month.
Awesome. And Jason, how do you communicate with your sphere of influence? So what's the best source of communication? Other than, I'm assuming the phone is probably your best source.
Honestly, Facebook. I think Facebook, I think all of us should be contacting our sphere of influence and stuff through Facebook. I mean, I'll tell you what, you wouldn't believe, we're having a baby. You wouldn't believe the people that will call me or message me through Facebook about us having a baby. It's unreal. It is some people that like, man, they're my friend on there, and I don't really know them or anything. But so that's really unbelievable.
But they feel like your friend, right? After you see them for a long time.
Yeah, we're on Facebook. We're Facebook friends. We're friends, right? Um,
Right. If you saw him on the street, you'd be like, hey, buddy, give me a hug, like, what's going on? Or, shake my
yeah, how
hand
you
because
been?
we're Facebook friends.
Yes, man. And I think Facebook's like really easy to keep up with the sphere of influence too, clicking like on profile pictures, clicking on comments. I had somebody on my Facebook tell me, hey, why don't you sell my house yesterday? Okay, and
Why
I was
not,
like,
right?
well, I didn't. Why not? Turns out they got it listed with another agent, and they messaged me, and they ended up messaging me through Facebook, going, "Hey, my listing expires on this date. Can you help us? The other agent's not doing anything for me." And honestly, I didn't even know. Honestly, I didn't even know they had a house here, to tell you the truth. Um, but I think that's the best way. Now you have those people in your sphere of influence that I'd like to call connectors, that are people that are connected to a lot of other people. And those people you want to call, and those, I mean, it could be anybody. Like I got an investor friend of mine that, he sends me probably a deal a month, it seems like, or a listing a month. It's just people that he knows that, they call him about buying their house. But those people that are connectors, maybe they work in a job or they come into contact with a lot of people. I got a couple of old clients that own these little country convenience stores. God, they always send me people. And those people that are coming in contact with a lot of people, like maybe they're a minister at a church, you want to call them. You want to try to be, like their best friend, send them something to mail. You want to go that extra mile. You don't want to just click like on their Facebook post yesterday.
Absolutely. And Jason, here's a question. When you contact a FSBO, do you identify yourself as an agent?
Oh, I do. Yeah, I mean,
Right off the bat, right?
yeah. Hey, Mr. Seller, this is Jason Morris with eXp Realty. I saw your house for sale on Craigslist. I mean, I identify myself right off the bat. I mean, we're in a business, and I'll be real quick with this. We're in a business here nowadays where trust is the only thing we really have. And if you're trying to, get an appointment or get in their door and be sneaky, not tell them you're an agent, not being upfront about what your intention is, my intention, the reason I'm calling you is because I can sell your house, and I am just that plain to them. I mean, the only thing we have is trust in our business nowadays. We don't control information. It's already out there. Um, our business changed about 10 years ago. And,
Yep.
My whole process is actually building trust. That's really what I'm doing when you look at my whole process as a whole.
Absolutely. I totally, completely agree. And you're so transparent. I mean, you put everything out there. You put out great content. You make yourself available to people. So why wouldn't somebody feel like they can reach out to you and ask you a question, or, become your friend and even, trust you enough without really knowing you to give you their listing? It's all,
Yep.
you're absolutely right, Jason.
Yep.
It's all about trust. We have a couple questions. So a lot of this is my biggest pet peeve, and I hope that I can put this out there right now, is when I do agent mastermind approvals for the group, for our private group, and I don't know if you're an agent, I wonder to myself, why are you in the business if you're not actually putting that out there, that what your profession is? Facebook has become your, basically your marketplace, your calling card. You should be listed as a real estate agent on your Facebook personal page. If you're using a business page, what do you think about that?
I'm the same way. I feel like I can't believe these agents that will they have their Facebook page and they don't have that they're an agent on it. Like when I'm doing approvals for real estate agents that really work, I think about the same thing. Like I look at it and I'm looking for,
Always.
I look at every person's page and I'm looking for something that says that they're a real estate agent. And if it doesn't say they're a real estate agent, I don't approve them.
Neither do I. I will not approve you in our Facebook page if your profile does not say some kind of real estate agent. I don't have time to spend going through your entire profile to see if you have a listing on your page. Sorry, folks. I really apologize, and I'd love for all of you to be more visible on Facebook so that you could get more business. And I think, I personally, and I don't know about you, Jason, but I work for Facebook pretty well. That's part of my business. But I think that your personal page should be a public page if you're in the business. And a lot of people say, oh, I've got a business page. Well, unless you're a celebrity on your business page and you have some amazing content, guess what? Nobody sees your business page. Nobody. Okay. Facebook is in the business to make money. So if you're not running ads from your business page, most likely nobody will ever visit it to know that you're a realtor. So please, please, please update. Go after this, go update your profiles, put your business down, put where you work, what city and state, and I guarantee you more people will reach out to you. Yeah, exactly.
Work for it. I can't believe how many real estate agents just have real estate agent on their thing. I mean, if you work for EXP, put it. If you work for Remax, put it. You know what I mean? This all builds trust. I mean, I'm just a big believer in that. And that's why a lot of agents don't do as well as they could. It's not because they're a nice person, they work hard and stuff, but they do things that are weird and, and break that process of building trust,
Well, Jason, this has been an awesome webinar. We've got so much information. I so appreciate you coming on and sharing all of your lead sources, your book, your free downloads, and I hope that everyone on this call today got a lot out of it. I hope to see you guys. If you haven't joined our Agent Mastermind page, it's facebook.com/group/Agent Mastermind. Please make sure that I know that you're a realtor so that I can approve you easily. And Jason has his group as well that you might want to join. It's Real Estate Agents That Really Work. And the same thing goes for him. If he doesn't know that you're a realtor, he's not going to approve you to be on his Facebook page, group, I should say. So thank you, Jason. My pleasure having you today, and I look forward to having you in another class in the future.
Yeah, sounds great. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks, guys. And next week, join us. City Blast is going to come back. If you haven't been to a webinar with City Blast, I highly, highly recommend it. So I hope to see you all next week at 12 o'clock Eastern, live on the web. Have a great afternoon. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.